What's up, Shadow Priest buddies? This is video number 2, Type GCDs, in the Shadow Next Level series. Shadow Priest is about consistent play. Every GCD matters, every step you take absolutely matters. The biggest impact to our DPS is understanding this in spades. No other DPS in the game punishes and rewards this lesson more than Shadow's Void form. But that's actually just what makes it fun to play. Let's start with every GCD matters. This means tight GCDs, without micro gaps. And the cure for this is spamming. This means never to hesitate and know what your next ability is going to be in advance, and I'll give you extra credit to watch a video I'll put in the description that explains this very well. In this example, I have the good stuff on the left here with the green thumbs up and the stuff you don't want to do on the right, and I'm going to show you why. So on the left, you can see there's no gap in between the end of Mind Blast and the beginning of Mind Flay. And there's no space there. All of that stuff is good stuff. There's also, you see the space in here, that's the global, and that's like normal stuff. However, the further to the right we get, we start to see extra space. So this is definitely extra space here. And pay close attention to the little micro gap in between Mind Blast and the Power Word Shield. And there's actually definitely still space even after that. There's going to be gaps in everybody's rotation regardless of how good you are. The goal is not to be perfect, but to try to be perfect. Opening a log, we can check our performance on this. And of course I have a trick for this too. So we're going to go to Series. This time we're going to do a new expression, so check the tab you're on. It's in the middle. I'm going to paste the expression I'm going to give you. With this one, you want to make sure you change name here. And change the pin type to a filter. Create pin. Let's go to cast. And this time we're going to go to timelines. So what you're looking at here is all the white space. And these spaces are bad things that are happening to us that we should probably look into why. Spaces here and there is probably mechanics. This fight had a knockback, so definitely expected. Look into, say, this one, and just click and drag to zoom in. And we can see a lot of space here. There was a missed global for sure. A few more examples. Here's another one. This is a good example of a missing global. And I want to show you what a zoomed in version of a perfect rotation would look like. This is about as good as it gets. There's no spaces after Mind Blast. It goes Mind Blast, Mind Flay, no space. Mind Blast, Void Bolt, no space here. Everywhere there's not supposed to be a space, there's no space. The lines up here are also showing us that there's no missing GCDs. So a lot of this advice is relevant for all DPS. It's just extra important for Shadow Priest. It'll make or break you. Let's talk about Shadow Priest stuff for a moment. And I want to point out Void Bolt. Void Bolt is always every third cast as long as we're in Void form. This is absolutely critical. If you're missing DPS, I suggest that you look at your logs and make sure you see this. If you see that you don't have a void bolt where you're expecting it, double check that you're in void form and it wasn't in between void forms where it made sense. Otherwise, no exceptions. Oh, but wait, there is maybe one. At about 147% haste, you can actually void bolt every other global, and this does happen on Zakul in Delirium. I know this tier is just about over soon, but if you do get just call it 150% haste at any point, expect to be able to cast void bolt every other global, and if you're not, you're missing void bolts, and it's going to be a huge DPS loss. The next Shadow Priest thing I want to point out is I'm going to recommend, or I highly recommend, to go with the spamming of keys, clip your Mind Flay so that they're always one GCD. And the reason for that is these two right here, I could have done a full channel Mind Flay and it would have worked out perfectly because a full channeled Mind Flay counts as 2 globals. But if I'm in the habit of channeling it all the time and I full channeled it right after this Mind Blast, that means my Void Bolt would have been late. So if you're always clipping, spamming your keys, make Mind Flay a GCD every time, and I guarantee you, you'll get the muscle memory a lot faster. Mind Seer, same concept. The only difference would be it's approximately 5 targets that you don't even have to Mind Blast anymore, just full channel Mind Seer all day if there's like 5 or more targets. It is very important to ignore your UI. Do not wait for Void Bolts to come off of CD. Your UI is lying to you when it comes to Shadow Priest. Just know it's the 3rd cast every time, except with 150% haste, which is very rare, and always be pressing your next key. Don't wait for your UI to tell you it's available when it comes to Void Bolt especially. This is a very common mistake. If you feel like your UI is extra laggy and feels like you're going faster than your UI is, I promise you it's your UI, it's not the game, and I will give you some recommendations for SpellQueue. A lot of times spammy players that are playing with about the MS are gonna experience this issue. I've known quite a few Mythic Raiders that have had to do the same thing that I did, which is lower our SpellQueue to about 250. The game default is, I believe, 400, and for most players it's gonna hurt you. I recommend if you do change your SpellQueue, never go below 200, honestly maybe never below 250. And if you do make changes, keep an eye on your logs and make sure that you're not making the problem worse. Well, that's going to be it for now. I hope some of this was useful for you. Later!